You only see the ups, like on social media, on LinkedIn, like you only see the ups. You don't see the downs. This is gonna sound harsh, but people don't really give a shit about your company or what you're pushing onto them. They do not. What they care about is the people behind it.
Totally.
Which I feel like at this point is like pretty obvious, but it wasn't obvious going into it.
If you want to get anything, all you have to do is build a community and team around you, and the way to do that is just by providing value to people. I mean, you see it when like people are trying to get a job, or when you are trying to like get your first 100 or 1,000 users. How can I provide value so people want to help me in my journey?
People don't want to be sold to. They either want to be entertained, they maybe want to learn something new, or they just want information on something. And so I think if you can hit one of those pillars while still coming off as like authentic, a real human being, not a brand, it sounds like it always converts better.
You have to get scrappy. You don't have a choice. Your company won't survive if you can't get creative and scrappy. And that obviously looks different for everyone. For us, it was about
All right, Avery, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. So to give everybody some context on who Avery is the co-founder and former chief marketing officer of Plots, a platform known for creating immersive in-person experiences that connects communities through curated events. Avery's played a key role in shaping Plots' identity and growth, and now she's pursuing a full-time career as a DJ and music artist, blending her creativity, sensibilities, and entrepreneurial spirit to carve out a distinct presence in the music industry. Welcome, Avery.
Thank you.
Yes.
What an intro.
Okay, so on this episode, we're going to discuss everything from growth to raising to doing the transition careers and everything in between. I think you have a super interesting story. But before we touch on all that stuff, we're going to play a fun game we like to play with all our guests.
I love it. Okay, TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok for sure.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to go through your For You page. We're going to see who the algorithm thinks you are, which maybe knows you better than you know yourself, I find.
Yeah, something like that for sure. All right.
I'm going to turn the volume
I think I already know exactly what it's going to be.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so right off the bat, DJ content.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. You're an aspiring DJ. That's super, super exciting. You said a gig at a festival?
Yeah, my first festival at the end of October.
So exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Okay, that's so cool. What is the DJ community like on TikTok?
So I'm kind of like on a mix of DJ TikTok and growing musician TikTok and marketing TikTok.
Okay.
And
Which
so
all kind of works together.
Yeah, no, they definitely all work together. I would say it's just a lot of different opinions that are contradicting each other. Like there's so much noise and it's hard to really figure out, what's true and what's not. And also there's people that are, on festival lineups, they have a ton of credibility. There's producers who have been, part of really well-known songs, worked with huge artists, and they're all telling you different things. So I would say like this is probably not a term people would use for like the DJ community, but I think it's a bit controversial, honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. Are you saying like they tell you different things in terms of like how to grow?
Yes, I'd say that, and they put importance on different things. Some people think that whether you use Splice, which is basically they have a bunch of not copyrighted samples that people can use in their music, and some people think that that's like cheating. Other people are like, there's massive hits that have Splice, like who cares? So it's more just like people sort of deem others' credibility based on their own standards, and I don't really feel like there's a strong agreed upon industry standard like there are in other industries, you know?
That's so tough because it's like you just can't win.
Yeah, and so I think you have to like really do, like this is going to sound very corny, but like you kind of got to do what feels right to you.
Totally.
Because you're going to hear from different sources that one thing is okay and other things aren't, but like who cares?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so we have DJ content. Well, more music people when they say they're a small artist, but they have 30,000 monthly listeners and are also going on an East Coast tour. And you're just like, no, you're not small. I get that. Are you a fan of Rotten Tomatoes and movies?
Yes and no. I would say like I have a respect for any creative industries and art, and I like to think a bit about, you know, what the director or the writer of the screenplay had in mind, and I like to make my own interpretations. But I'm not like a huge movie person. Like all my friends are like, "Oh, get on Letterboxd." I'm like, I'm good.
I'm not. I don't have time. Okay, a lot of music. I love this.
Yeah.
This is like so fun because everybody's For You page is so unique, and I think it shows like there's so much content out there.
Oh my God,
Like
yeah.
I've never seen any of these videos before.
Honestly, I wasn't getting that content until I like really started to dive into that world, and I think it's because obviously your For You page is going to feed back the content you engage with, and I've started creating all these collections for saving different things, and so now I'm like constantly saving TikToks.
Yeah.
And so my For You page is just like giving me that exact stuff back.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it must be like motivating too. It's like, okay, I'm consuming this, I'm doing this in my life. This is my life right now.
Yeah, it's motivating at times and draining it on others because you're like looking at it and you're like, wow, everyone else is also trying to do this thing I'm doing. And there's definitely space for everyone, of course, there always is. But I think it's like just a reminder that you can work really hard, or you can be talented, or you can have all the resources in the world, but some things you just can't control, especially in an oversaturated environment. It just becomes that much harder to stick out, you know?
Yeah.
So
If it makes you feel better, I don't get any DJ content. So now the question is, how do you get on like the non-DJs of the world's For You page?
yeah,
That's
I
super
mean,
interesting.
I think about that a lot, and I'm not sure that I've really mastered it, or else I would hope that one of you would have seen me by now.
Maybe tapping into like sub niches, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a big Lana fan.
So true.
So remix a Lana
So
song.
true.
100%.
So
I
true.
think like being a girl DJ, I can kind of tap into some of those things that, you know, the men might not be able to relate to as much. And so I try to just think about like which communities I'm a part of that I know best, and like how would I get attracted to someone else's community or music or brand, and then I try to do that.
Totally.
That's so interesting.
I think it makes sense. Okay, so let's talk growth. Plots.
Yes.
So to give people like some context on actually how we met, it was at some fundraising event. I don't know if you remember.
Founders and funders
Yeah.
at the Victorian.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And yeah, we hit it off. She told me about the company. I told her about mine. And yeah, we basically ended the conversation there, got each other's connection. And then a couple of weeks later, I go to one of the events that, you know, Plots is throwing. I think it was also at the Victorian, to be honest. I think it was like a Halloween event. And little do I know, you're like DJing up there too. And I'm like, she's like the founder and also a DJ. Like, what is going on here? And then we start talking after that. And like, I realized you guys have this super cool playbook around growth. Can you tell us a little bit around, you know, what Plots is first off? And then like, what is that main growth lever strategy that you guys use to really scale?
Yeah, so what Plots is, the best way I can explain it, we started out sort of like a Snapchat maps for events. And so, you know, you would go on, and first when you open the app, there would be this map. And rather than like you seeing a bunch of, you know, random animated heads of your friends, you're seeing these different icons that represent different types of events. So like, you know, there's like one for a mansion, there's one for a bar, there's one for a yacht party. Like there's all sorts of icons. You click on the icon, you can see everyone who's going, you can see the details of the event, the flyer, you know, most things that you would need to be able to attend an event. But kind of that cool aspect that we went beyond just like Evite or something that would be the way that you get into an event was like that social element. That was really kind of where the core idea started from, was bringing people together around events. And so over the past couple of years, we've evolved from that initial Snapchat maps for events idea to become more of an in real life community, where basically we have this explore page and you can see just different people around you and what events they're going to, see a little bit of information around them. You can follow different people. And there's, you know, some other things in the works, obviously, to play more into what different individuals may want to see versus others, right? But yeah, in the initial growth stages, I would say, yeah, one of the most impactful things we did was realizing, okay, everyone else who's trying to grow doesn't have the advantage of actually being a platform that already has all these events going on, right? And so being an event-based platform where you're bringing in event hosts and then event hosts are bringing their attendees, and that's how you're essentially gaining users, we had this super unique opportunity to basically become the event hosts if we could, right? And luckily, my background prior to Plots was I had an events company. And so coming in, I was realizing as I was throwing the events, I'm like, oh, wait, every single person that attends one of these events is becoming a new user. And then they're getting notified once they have the app of all the other events, and then they're going to those events. And so not only were we building out our base, but we were helping build density in this events community. So I think kind of once we realized that, it was just honestly an obvious thing to do, and we had the connections and the resources to do it. And as soon as we started to find success and realize that it wasn't this like thing where we were like pushing it on to people, it just was something that people actually wanted to go to. Like we were, creating memorable experiences. People were having a great fucking time. And of course they wanted to come back. And so we were really focusing on more of like a grassroots way of expanding, and just like the retention was really high. I think the attendee experience was really positive. And as a result, this was something that, gave us probably the best, I guess, for lack of a better word, customers or new users, because they were super committed. They were super loyal. And then they were going out and, telling everyone how much they love this platform. So I would say that was the reason we did that, and how we did it was, one, testing it out, seeing the success happen, and then figuring out how we could scale that. Of course, being a small team at first, it was not so easy to do, but, you make a lot of connections over time, and you figure out how you can kind of have your hand in different events without throwing the entire thing yourself. So I'd say that's also how we kind of built up that initial traction, especially here in Los Angeles.
That's so awesome. So it sounds like the scaling was pretty natural because people came to your events and they loved them. How did you get your first 100 people or however many people to attend the event, to get on the app, and to start that snowball process?
Yeah, so our main user acquisition strategy that has been super successful has been working with hosts and making sure, because I started out as an event host, and so understanding how you can provide value to an event host and then therefore provide value to their community, because if they can throw the best possible events, then their community's happy, right? And their attendees are happy, and then they're happy, and they're going to keep throwing more events and getting more people. And so as a result, we were able to continue basically having all these different hosts. And as you'd meet one host, you would meet other hosts, right? And then the attendees would continue coming. But I would say it was really about providing the value to the hosts,
right,
and then them giving it to their attendees. And one thing that was super impactful was getting event hosts that would do consistent events, right? So I should probably clarify, you could get a massive event. You could get a Coachella type event or something, right? That's not really what Plots is built for, because that happens once a year, right? That is something that's more for a ticketing platform. We have always been a bit of both. We offer ticketing, we offer RSVP, we offer guest lists, but it's more so about those events that are repetitive. That's, I guess if it makes sense, it's a bit difficult to kind of explain, because it's more of this feeling, and it's more of I say community a lot because I think that really is the root of where Plots is and how we've gotten here. But it's been about getting people that actually love throwing events and love the impact that it has to people, because you get one of those and then they're throwing consistent events, right? And imagine like I'm throwing an event and I DJ and maybe I get like 40 to 50 of my friends, because this really is how it started. Like it was basically like Tristan and I were just throwing events in LA and I was still in college. And so to be honest with you, we really used that to our advantage. Sure. You know, I had other DJ friends in college that I knew wanted to DJ, and we would set these lineups up at local venues. We got all of our friends to come. And, you know, the school I went to, LMU, Loyola Marymount University, it's kind of small. It's like 6,000 undergrad, I think. And so the nightlife there and like the partying was not like UCLA, USC tier, which you would think would be almost problematic trying to grow Plots. But it was actually the complete opposite, because people like needed fun things to do. And so we're like, we're going to solve this problem for you. We're going to give you the best experience. And then they kept coming back. So that's probably how we created, not probably, that definitely is how we created the snowball effect. But it was about like clinging on to that momentum. If we had stopped even for one weekend, genuinely, I don't know if we'd be where we are right now.
Gotcha. Okay, so it sounds like it started off in college. It started off by like really building a tool for hosts that was super valuable to them, useful for them. You guys were actually the hosts as well, and so you guys just built the tool perfectly for you guys. How did you actually go about like finding like those next couple of hosts? Was it just like cold emails? Like, and then on top of that, how did you actually like prioritize which features were worth building that would get you to the next stage versus just like random asks that maybe wouldn't have like a huge ROI?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we've always been kind of a combination of a social app, and like that's really been our goal, guiding a lot of our decision making. But then at the same time, you obviously have this other element, which is, you know, the way that you're building revenue is through ticketing and through taking, you know, you have a processing fee, et cetera. Right. And so it was interesting in the early stages because you're trying to balance, you know, your sort of journey as a company and where you want to go, to, you know, appeasing investors to an extent, and also just being, you know, a company that actually has like a source of revenue, right? And so in the beginning, it was about finding the biggest hosts we could find. Tristan, our CEO, he's been just so fantastic on the sales side and just bringing in a ton of hosts. A lot of what he did in the beginning was just cold outreach. Mm-hmm. However, you know, when you're just starting out, it's not so easy because it's hard to match up to competitors' value, especially competitors that have been around for, you know, at least a few years. They have everything, you know, that a host would want, right? So at that point, our main sort of competitive edge was, one, we were here in LA. We could go meet you in person. We're real people. We actually care about your success. Like, you know, we're not big enough to not care. Like, and so we were really like hand-holding and giving attention and building relationships with people. I would say that was like the big thing for starters, was like every host on the app to start out in Los Angeles was someone that Tristan or I knew.
That's awesome. So it was very like white glove, like
we were going to all the events. Yeah. And one thing that I would do was try to figure out through my own like existing connections from DJing and throwing events, like how could I help? Was there like promotional value I could add? You know, could we plug someone in somewhere? Could I recommend DJs to them that could, you know, bring a ton of people? Like, where could we add the most value? And in the beginning, doing that, I'd say for like the first few months, at least until we built up enough presence in LA, that was enough to really like get some momentum going. And to me, that was about like, again, I think it does sound pretty fucking corny, but it's so true. It was about actually caring about the people we worked with.
Totally.
And being like so immediately involved and not even having really any layers in between, that we were able to literally ask hosts and say, hey, how can we make this app better? Like, it just was constant communication. They're constantly telling us. And then as a host myself, who was hosting events on the platform, I was very vocal very frequently with Tristan about the product and how it could constantly be improved. And so I think that's the other thing is if you're your biggest critic, you're able to almost prioritize. If you're your biggest critic and you're in touch with your demographic and the product, you know, then you should kind of already be able to know how to prioritize it.
Right.
I don't recommend that people found something that they know nothing about.
Sure. Yep. No, I think it makes total sense. And I think something huge I want people to like really understand is that in the case that you're a founder and you have a product and you're going against competitors, figure out what you have to your advantage and then use that to incentivize your ideal customer to why they should use you versus somebody else, right? Like in your case, you guys were local. Awesome. In your case, you also had a lot of connections to other DJs, event resources, etc. And so sometimes the advantage isn't even like the tech that you can build in the app, but it sounds like it's everything else that you can do outside of the app to help that customer actually onboard.
And I feel like it's such an important piece because the truth of most tech startups is if you have a competitor that already exists, like for you to get to the level where your product not only matches up to theirs, but maybe beats theirs, you know, it's going to take some time and it's going to take some money. Like it does not happen overnight. It doesn't even happen doesn't even happen over months. Like that's just the cold hard truth. And so you have to get scrappy. You don't have a choice. Your company won't survive if you can't get creative and scrappy. And you know, that obviously looks different for everyone. For us, it was about literally just figuring out how can we help? Like how can we make your life easier or how can we make your business, because a lot of hosts, it's their business, it's their livelihood, or it's their passion. Either way, it's like, how can we literally make your life better? Because that's the point, right? Like to get to product market fit, the whole point is you're solving a problem, you're answering something, you're making something easier. And so it was always like, how do we do that?
Right.
That's so powerful. And I think it reflects in literally any aspect of life. Like if you want to get anything, all you have to do is build a community and team around you. And the way to do that is just by providing value to people. Yeah. I mean, you see it when like people are trying to get a job or when you are trying to like get your first 100 or 1,000 users or even make content. Like how can I provide value so people want to help me in my journey? And it's all about just figuring out what does this person need and how can I be right there and deliver that to them. And no one else does that stuff. So it goes such a long way.
Yeah. It goes a lot further too than honestly like funding or anything else in my opinion, because you know you can have access to millions of dollars, but if you don't know what to do with that or you don't know what to do without it, more importantly, you're not going to know what to do with it. Like if you didn't know what to do with 100K, you're not going to know what to do with a million.
Snaps.
Right. Well said. Okay, so it sounds like that was a main growth strategy to go from 0 to 1. What about 1 to 10? What else did you guys try? It sounds like a little bit of TikTok, a little bit of UGC.
So TikTok is a more recent thing, I'd say. Okay. Like, I think because of what worked and holding on to what worked and then, you know, attempting to scale that and test new things as we were continuously, you know, iterating the product and talking to different people as competitors were growing and raising more money. You know, there's like a million things. There's a lot of noise when you're like in the 1 to 10 phase, and it feels at times impossible to distinguish between what's important and what's not. And I also won't sit here and pretend like I, you know, necessarily know the answer to that. I'm not sure anyone really does. All I can do is, you know, say what worked for me and what worked for Plots. After we found that the grassroots approach worked really well, one thing that Tristan had started, and also another one of our co-founders, Kieran, they had put together these Instagram accounts for different cities, but mostly for colleges. And so when you think about building a community and you think about other, you know, past startups that have been incredibly successful, at least like in the social sphere, one thing I always think about Be Real, I think about Tinder, right? And a lot of what they did and their main approach to go 1 to 10 or even 1 to 100, because both grew pretty fucking quickly, was they realized that, one, there's a ton of density in college communities. Huge. 2, college kids are kind of like the trendsetters for the rest of the world in a way. Like if they start doing something, they all do it. It's not like you don't just get like some college kids. It's like, think about Greek life. It's such a wild concept, really, but like everyone does it, right? You think about like football culture, tailgate culture, bar culture, even now DJ culture. Like so much of it is directly impacted by college kids. I literally think about like some of the biggest DJs right now, the ones that have quickly grown. And a lot of that has been, sure, TikTok a bit, but who do you think is like watching them on TikTok and streaming their music? It's a lot of college kids, right? And they're booking them. And so to me, college kids create a ton of credibility, and they also are free marketing in a way. Like, I don't want to put it like that because I feel like that sounds like maybe not how I want it to. But what I mean is they have density and they have community, and they're incredibly powerful and passionate, right? And being someone who at the time was in college, you know, I knew the mind of college kids really well. Not to mention, you know, Tristan, obviously, and Kieran, both 1 year younger than me. And so their mentality was also there. So they basically had a very similar model to Barstool with their Instagram accounts. They created Instagram accounts like What's Plots UCLA, What's Plots LMU, What's Plots, like I don't even know how many we had to begin with. And I couldn't tell you the number now, but most large colleges that you could think of that have any sort of like event scene, there was a What's Plots account. And so doing that, we started to get the Plots name out there within different communities, within, you know, different college campuses. And I mean, that shit spread pretty quickly. Sure. But on the other hand, it also a bit separated us from like what our goal really was. So it was important that like we found our way back to that, because you don't want to just have like a meaningless party page that doesn't really actually activate new users or create downloads or lead to actual growth. So in order to have it actually lead to growth, we had to make sure that the pages were promoting events. So we did that. And in LA, one really pivotal part of growth in conjunction with the throwing events was we had a What's Plots LA page, and the page would post any events going on in LA, right? And so it wouldn't even always be events on our platform. It would sometimes be other ones. But what it did was it created this demand, right? Or we were the supply to the demand of What's Plots? What are you going to do tonight? And that was the whole thing, right? So we're like, okay, well, we need to answer that. And so that's what we started to do on all these college pages. That was an epic growth strategy that worked really well to complement the events that we had going on. So it was like that, it was bringing on events hosts, and then it was throwing our own events that created more demand for the platform, because we would make sure that every event that we threw was like fucking awesome. It couldn't flop. It wasn't allowed. Of course, there were some exceptions to that and a lot of mistakes made along the way. But the other thing that we did while we did the college pages was basically I was kind of in charge of this. We started to throw these big like frat parties, basically. So I would get on the phone with social chairs across the country. A lot of them I still talk to. They're great. That was an unexpected thing, by the way. But I would be like, hey, like we have this platform. We're willing to work with you guys, help you get an artist, help you get like different sponsors for your parties. And so that was a perfect example of providing external value where like, the product can't get you disco lines. The product can't get you Happy Dad to sponsor your event, but we can. Sure. And so by doing that, we were all of a sudden getting all this content, all this free marketing, and getting like 1,000+ users per event, right?
Wow.
And so that, in conjunction with the pages, was like, whoa, what the fuck is Plots? This seems fun, you know? So it was just creating buzz, honestly.
Yeah.
And so that, with like the actual, you know, more formal sales strategy of bringing event hosts on kind of separate from specifically college, you know, each event host was bringing us new users every time they'd throw an event. And so those two things together was like, wow, whoa, we're at 100,000 users. Whoa, we're at 150. Whoa, we're at 200. Now we're over 300,000. So Yeah, I'd say that was like a pretty strong one for 1 to 10.
No, that's crazy. So what exactly was like the original content you guys were posting on these college pages? Was it just like random parties?
Yeah.
Random, like, so very much like.
So it depend on the account because we had different people running.
Like who are owning them?
So we had people who went to the schools.
Owning them?
Like an ambassador almost?
Yeah, essentially ambassadors. And so depending on the ambassador and their competency, the content would vary quite a bit. But I would say I can tell you the content for the most part was one of two things. It was either like random fucking like Barstool videos or like reposting like viral reels or TikToks from the school. Like I'm sure there was a lot of content that was probably taken from other college pages. I'm not even gonna lie, because that's what I would have done if I were running it. And then the other thing would be like flyers for events and parties and just different things going on.
Gotcha.
That's so interesting. I want to like double down on, I think what you said about like college is such a powerful tool to leverage, because I think we all know, if you can really mobilize a community, that is so powerful, and it's an easy way to grow quickly. And I think you're right. Like colleges and college campuses are one of the only places where people are all together. It is a true community. Once you graduate, like everyone's on their own, it's much different. Like we don't have as much community. So being able to leverage the college campuses in that college age, I think like anybody can do that regardless if like, you are targeting college age people, but even just to launch a product, if you start there, it's so much easier to make a movement because you can start a trend by just telling the cool people that it's cool.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think there's exceptions to everything, right? Like in my head, I'm thinking about like some of the companies that are getting the most funding right now, like just random AI tools, right? Like, I don't know how impactful college kids would be for those, but for most like
consumer
culturally relevant companies, 100%.
I love that. So you found ambassadors to manage all these pages. How did you find the ambassadors?
Through Handshake.
Okay, smart.
That is very smart.
Handshake, for those that don't know, is kind of like it's for students.
Yeah.
It's kind of like student LinkedIn to find jobs.
Yeah.
But a little bit more friendly. It's a marketplace. Yeah. Okay, very interesting. And how was it managing all those people across different colleges?
A shit show.
Yeah.
A shit show and a half. There's a reason that's not really in practice anymore.
Yeah.
And I think this is actually such an important takeaway that it took me such a long time to learn, but like you kind of get forced to learn it, which is that in a startup, the 0 to 1 and 1 to 10, different periods of growth within the company, you're gonna do different things.
Yeah.
And sometimes they scale, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they work really well for a given period of time or a given stage in the company, but you gotta know when it's time to move on or drop it, like you gotta know when to stop putting energy into something or when to put more into something that can scale into, the next phase of the company. So a perfect example of that is like the college pages, the amount of time it would take for us to manage all the ambassadors for each page, right? And, make sure that branding wise, it was like semi-cohesive with where we were headed as a product and with how we were marketing ourselves and branding ourselves. Like the amount of time and energy for that just wasn't really something that should have been a priority. So, obviously that shifted. And same with the events. Like, as we grew, it did not make sense for me to continue putting all my time and energy into like curating and single-handedly throwing these events, right? It was like, how do we pass these things off or find the next growth strategy? So yeah, I guess that's the long-winded answer.
No, I got you. And so it sounds like you guys winded down that growth strategy a little bit. Do you still have some for different colleges?
We still have some. I don't know how active they are. Okay. I was running the main Instagram page a bit, like a few months ago. I was running it for like 3 months because I was trying to rebuild our branding and kind of redesigned most of the app. Just to fit a bit more with a wider audience, to feel a little less college-y, you know?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so part of that was, I don't even know if the rest of the team knows this. Maybe they noticed if they looked at the Instagram account recently, but I like unfollowed all the Plots pages.
Oh, really?
Well, because it was
starting
really
fresh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we started doing stuff like we did like a Von Dutch New York Fashion Week event. Like we were like, I was just really trying to create some distance so that we could continue to do those culturally relevant things like that were marketing tactics in and of themselves, you know. But everything's a learning experience, and I definitely think that there probably was a smoother transition that could have happened between that era of Plots and the current one. But I also think that like in a full product market fit company where you just have found something and it's growing on its own, that is like also just how like that's also just what happens to an extent, because we have to try different things and you have to learn what works and what doesn't, and part of that is making mistakes. So
yeah, it's so hard because it's hard to find something and you're like, oh, okay, this is a thing. Like, yes, we found it, but then, you know, a couple months go by and you're like, well, this is not the thing anymore.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And it can feel really discouraging, but it's just part of the process. And then you find the next thing and you're like, well, this got us to the next space, and it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again, it's going to happen again.
Absolutely. It's fuck, yeah, it gets really discouraging sometimes. Oh my God.
You're like, oh shit, this is the end. Oh wait, no, it's not on. It's okay.
And like, I give so much props to the team because like there were so many ups and downs. There have been. They're not done. They're going to continue, and sticking it out through those is not easy.
Totally.
Like you only see the ups, like on social media, on LinkedIn, like you only see the ups. You don't see the downs. And so I think people, you know, often are like, oh, that's so cool, or like, you guys are doing so well, and it's like they don't see everything else.
Yeah.
What it took to get there.
I often tell myself when things are hard, I'm like, well, you know what? At least I'm not bored, because that's
so true.
That's the worst thing I could be.
100%. At least you're doing something. You're waking up every day and you're choosing to do something that you like.
Yep.
I think that's huge.
Agreed. Okay, so then still in this like social strategy space, you mentioned you guys did do some like TikTok UGC campaigns recently. How did that work out? Like, what were kind of some big learnings, takeaways from that?
So it was pretty brief. What we were doing was trying to test different narratives with different audiences to kind of figure out how our new Explore page and like social features and basically this narrative of Plots fulfilling the question of where do I go to events and meet people. And so there honestly, I would say there wasn't enough time that they were being run to really like fully
validate.
To see what worked and what didn't. But that was just on the UGC side. Like that was more just like Spark ads and stuff like that. But right now I know that like UGC creators that we've brought on that are basically like they've created their own TikTok accounts and are like organically posting about events and how to find them and just stuff that is like pretty related but indirectly to the app itself, and so it feels more organic, it feels natural. Those are doing well. In terms of conversion, I don't know the numbers, but I do know this, which is that as we started to post on TikTok, Kieran, who again one of the co-founders, he would start posting individual videos, so on his own separate account, separate from the Plots TikTok, and we found that creating a degree of separation always better. People don't like this is gonna sound harsh, but it's kind of the truth, and I experienced this in a very blunt way, which is people don't really give a shit about your company or what you're pushing onto them. They do not. What they care about is the people behind it, especially if your whole mission is bringing people together. Like, you can't be on TikTok, like, posting event flyers. Like, you can if you're talking about it, if you're doing green screen and you're mic'd up and you're in the front and you're telling people about the events and what's going on at them, where they're at, who's throwing them, you know? But those were always the ones that converted the most by far People actually liked them. People were DMing us. People were like reaching out to us, asking if they could collab with us. And so the content that converted the highest on TikTok specifically was always content that centered around people and community and was not just like faceless, nameless, do this, do that.
Totally.
Which I feel like at this point is like pretty obvious, but it wasn't obvious going into it. Going into it, we thought, okay, well, if we like curate our brand and then we do these things and we work with Von Dutch, we're gonna be cool and people will want to, involve themselves in some way. No, they do not care. They don't care. They care about what's going on the west side of LA because that's where I live.
Yeah, that's so true. I remember the first company I worked at, I ran their social media for them, and we did TikTok, just trying to grow, bring in downloads. And nothing was working. The logo was the profile picture was the logo. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, let me just experiment. And I changed it to a picture of my face, and immediately things just started popping off. I did a little bit more like founder-led. I wasn't even the founder. I was just pretending. Like, people just want something to root for. Mm-hmm. And if you're able to give them that, then it's so much easier to get them on board, to get them to convert, to get them to really just like rally around you.
100%.
Because nobody cares. Nobody wants to be sold to anymore.
Wait, that's so funny. You did that. Yeah, that's
you
hilarious.
Have to. It's so funny. I was like, I'm building in public. I'm not building. I'm getting paid. Like, I'm a contractor here.
Yeah, that's like the Kieran method that worked.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there's something to be said around like people don't want to be sold to. They either want to be entertained, they maybe want to learn something new, or they just want information on something. And so I think if you can hit one of those pillars while still coming off as like authentic, a real human being, not a brand, it sounds like it always converts better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what you guys think about this because I kind of go back and forth. I feel like right now TikTok is being used very heavily for demand generation in everything. Like, that's, everybody's going into it with that intent, whether it's demand generation for a clothing brand, whether it's for a tech product, downloading a new app, whether it's for someone's new music. Like, everything is about, I feel like, demand, or at least on my For You page. And I still think like pretty heavily. That's why a lot of businesses or individuals are using TikTok these days as like a tool. Right? Like it's less for entertainment. It's more for a tool these days. And so, I think that like for Plots, that's how, like, that's where it will go in the future. That's where I see it going. But I also think that like people forget that things exist outside of that world. Like you still have to have something solid. You still have to like have something that fits and that helps people. Like even if you're being fed a narrative and it resonates with people and, your TikTok gets a bunch of engagement, like, is that always converting? Like, in your guys' experience, do you feel like it's always converting in terms of, like, generating more demand? And how do you guys measure that? Because you guys work more, I think, in that than me. Yeah.
Attribution with organic is always difficult. It's just, like, how it is. I think the best thing, like the best telltale sign is the comment section, where how are people actually responding to the messaging you're putting out there? If people are super stoked, like, oh my God, how do I download this? Or how do I go to this event or whatever? Then it's like, okay, this content not only is resonating, but I know it's converting users. I think the best flow is when you post a video, you get a comment that's like, oh my gosh, how do I download this app? You reply, tell them what the app is. They go download it and then they come back to TikTok to that same video and be like, oh my gosh, I loved it. I just shared it with my best friend. That's when you know you have a really good funnel for solid messaging that's actually converting. But there's also a lot of viral videos that don't convert. So you definitely have to do it the right way. And I think it's tricky because a lot of people chase the views, but 10 out of 10 times you'd rather have a lower view video that maybe doesn't resonate with 10 million people, but it resonates with your target audience very, very deeply, and a lot of those people convert.
100%.
Yeah, so it's a tricky, like, the views are so addicting to chase, and it's a good indicator of, great messaging and how is this TikTok video performing in general. But at the end of the day, for, founders and people who are building businesses, the views don't matter. Yeah. It's just, how do I get the people to see my product and to convert?
Well, and it's like, music and tech are so different, right? Like VCs do not give a flying fuck about your TikTok views.
Yeah.
Like, you're not trying to fundraise off TikTok views, right?
Yeah.
Like, but like in music, it's like they literally like you can have a song that's doing really well. If you have like no social media presence, labels they don't really
crazy. I
care.
didn't know
Whoa.
that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
even if you're Spotify,
So okay,
has,
for
like-
example, if you're like an artist that blows up on TikTok, you get signed by a label, and then you stop posting on TikTok.
you're gone. They'll drop you.
Yeah. Even if your music's still great, doesn't matter.
Wow, so that is a big factor.
So
now.
yeah, they're like completely different, which is a very interesting experience for me right now.
Do you think it'll eventually change where VCs will start understanding that TikTok is actually a huge distribution tool, and especially if it's like the main one for that startup, maybe it really does matter to like keep investing into that.
I think that where funding is at right now is very revenue driven. It's more revenue driven than it's been in a while. It's less about active users. It's less about downloads. Like if you have impressive numbers, 100%. Like Airbuds, I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Totally.
They just raised $5 million. I feel like a year ago I spoke to someone who was consulting for them because they were wanting to throw an event with Plots and do it so that they would get downloads at the door. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work for us. Because it's like kind of a contradiction of what we want. But they got 5 million downloads, and what's the number? I think it was like, they had some like, I don't know, 500,000 maybe monthly active users. Someone can fact check me on that, but their numbers were insane and they just raised money off that. But it's kind of an anomaly right now. Like it's all about how much money you're bringing in for the VCs. I do think it will change, but I think that it's still going to be tied to being able to prove that there's some conversion going on, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're not just going to like blindly be like, oh, TikTok is, you know, because how does that equal money for them? That's what they care about, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we know Airbuds like super closely, but they actually have this like insane network of ambassadors that just post every single day for them.
They were like OG UGC ambassador program, I feel.
OG, yeah. And so
Interesting.
they like figured out a content format that does convert, I think, pretty well.
That's so insane you say that. I was literally just talking about looking into that with Tristan earlier today.
It's really good. It's really good. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what we built our whole business on, is just these like large scale ambassador programs. And a big part of it is not just like volume of videos, but it's actually figuring out formats that do convert.
Yeah.
And so, I think VCs will start to understand and like take TikTok a lot more seriously if those numbers can justify it and back it up.
Yeah.
I think it's all super cool. Let's see. Okay, so you're transitioning a little bit from Plots, going full time on the music career. I think it's super cool to see founders that like chase the passion. They start a company, cool, but they often forget the plot that like it's not just about.
It's good. That was a good one.
I didn't do that on purpose. But like it's okay to have other passions, right? And sometimes priorities change, right? You don't got to chase the same thing always. Talk to me a little bit about that like mindset, how that happened, that story, and like how you knew it was time to just change.
Yeah, so before I even got into Plots, I had already started DJing. And while I was in college, the way that I got into this whole industry, even before DJing, long story short, I'll try to sum it up because it's a pretty long story, but basically I went out one night in college. I met this guy online at a bar, chatted with him, whatever. Next day, get a DM from him. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And basically he asks to hop on a call, says that like he thinks that I could be a good fit for his company. I get on a call with him. He tells me, oh yeah, like that event you were at, like that was my event. I threw it, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's sick. Basically pitches me on getting paid to go out. I'm like, well, I'm in college. Why would I ever say no to that? So I did that. Did my first time. Basically, he's like, okay, you know, you're going to have your own special link to this event, and then you're going to get X% of ticket sales, right? So basically a pyramid scheme. And I was like, okay, I do it. First, I'm like, wait, I just made more money than I make from my on-campus job, in one night than I would in a month. And I was like, that's crazy. And I didn't really have to do anything besides send a link to my friends. Then I thought about it a little more. I'm like, wait, I brought like a lot of the people that were at that event. And so I was like, opportunity.
It clicked, light bulb.
And I basically said to him sort of something along the lines of, I know my worth. If you want me to continue, let's make this a bigger deal.
Cool. Hell yeah.
So we became partners. I started getting really into the event stuff, booking other DJs, whatever. And then at some point, Liam is the name of the guy. Liam's awesome. He lives in New York now. He and I basically ran Apollo together for a long time. It's an events company. And he was like, well, why don't you DJ? And I was like, yeah. Like,
Sure.
Okay. So my first DJ gig ever was at Senator Jones. And I just remember, like, I was probably a little drunk, but like not crazy because it was my first DJ gig.
Right.
But I just remember feeling like this crazy high. It was my first DJ gig ever. Like, it wasn't anything crazy, but I was like, whoa, people get paid to do this? Like, I can't even explain it, guys. Like, the feeling I had, I was just like, whoa. Like, I think this is it. Like,
For sure.
so as soon as I felt that feeling, it was just kind of like everything else was chasing it. Now, at the same time, when everything with Plots started happening, you know, it was like I was working a real estate job at the time also, trying to get my real estate license, whatever. This is my senior year of college. Plots is starting to get some traction. We've raised a little bit of money. And I'm like, okay, well, this is fucking awesome. And I loved that we were trying to solve this problem, that like people weren't getting together enough in person. I loved that like this was potentially a solution. Because it was a problem I felt being in college, you know? So I was super passionate about that, and I was very passionate about building this company and this app, and I had never like been in tech. I was a communications major. Like I was basically getting all of my business experience and learning as I went, and luckily I was learning quickly, or else probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But there just was something different. Like the music kept coming back, and although Plots was full-time, it was just sort of a situation always in my head where the fact that I was spending so much time outside of Plots or even during Plots thinking about, oh wow, like it's sick that I'm helping book this DJ right now, but like I wish it were me, you know? So I always had those thoughts in the back of my head, and just the more time went on, I realized that feeling so young of feeling like something that you love doesn't feel like work because you love it so much and you're so deeply passionate about it. Honestly, my entire life, I hated structure. I hated learning, not a fan of school. And so to feel for once like I actually wanted to learn about something, like I'd be willing to sit down and read a book or watch a YouTube video when my attention span is non-existent, I was like, all right, like I got to pay attention to that.
Sure.
So as time went on, I basically was just like always like, okay, well, when Plots gets to this level, you know? And I learned pretty quickly that that's not really how life works. There's never a perfect time to do anything. And sometimes you need unfortunate circumstances to push you to make difficult decisions. And so I lost someone close to me, and that sort of shifted my entire perspective on everything. And that was a few months ago. I don't think that I took things for granted before then, but I do think that I was in a flow of life, and I was very used to the state that I was in, and I definitely was not considering just like shaking it up and, you know, doing a complete 360. But then life basically, or the universe, or however, you know, you want to look at it, I think about it as life, just threw a curveball and a half at me that came out of left field. And when that happened, I was just like, holy shit, life there's nothing guaranteed in life. If I don't do what I love, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? And so as much as I loved Plots and everything that, you know, I had put so much time and energy into building, it just was so clear to me that, you know, this thing that I love, that I had an opportunity right in front of me to do. And it was sort of like this new window open, basically, for me to climb through. And I was like, I was already taking time off and away from Plots because of everything. So it was somewhat of a natural transition, because the transition back would have been very difficult. And so I chose to take a step back and stay, you know, part of the team as an advisor. But now I've been taking music classes and just like filming DJ sets, posting them on YouTube, really getting into the whole marketing myself on social media. But I gotta say, like, despite the shift in terms of like where my heart is and the passion part, the sort of business acumen is kind of the same. Like, rather than me, you know, building a tech startup, now it's like I'm treating my own like brand as a musician like a business. And so like I'm trying to build the foundation. Once I have like the product built, then I'll, you know, get to the marketing part. But yeah, it's interesting that it's like, you would not think there'd be similarities, but a lot of what I've learned over the few years like that I've been at Plots, I didn't learn that shit in college, just gonna be so honest. I learned it at Plots. I'm now able to apply to this other thing that like I honestly don't know that much about. So yeah, it's been super interesting, and I feel like I'm learning new stuff every day, and I've been super lucky to have made so many, you know, strong musical connections through Plots, like knowing different agents, talent bookers, other DJs. One of my good friends, JMO, who is DJing full-time, just graduated from college. I surf with him every day. He's been super helpful and just giving me like a lot of advice because he grew super quickly. So yeah, I mean, it's like, LA's the place to be for music, and apparently also the place to be for tech these days.
This is true.
So yeah, it's been a nice transition. Not an easy one, but definitely nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you're scrappy anywhere, you could be scrappy with whatever you do.
That's what I'm hoping. It's weird to have been doing something for so long and then be like kind of starting over. And like I was saying to you guys earlier, like you got to create your own structure in this environment, and that's definitely not easy, but I think it's certainly a test of discipline, if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You've been crushing it so far on the DJ front. Like I said, you have been at a couple of your shows. You have a couple more coming up. You have a festival coming up.
Yes, I'm super excited for that.
Do you want to tell them what the festival is?
Yeah, it's called Reset Festival, and it is from October 18th to 20th. It's in the desert, Coachella Valley.
Sick.
And yeah, it's essentially a house music festival for people who also love wellness. So there's going to be like yoga, cold plunges, saunas, all of that, and some awesome music.
Cool. And where else can people stream your music and find you?
So right now, I don't have anything out on my independent artist project, but I do have like a duo artist project with my friend Dane. It's called Colacane with a K, Kolacane. Yeah. Anyway, there's 2 songs out on that project. And yeah, I mean, I'm on SoundCloud, I'm on Instagram. A lot of my stuff right now is on YouTube. So I just posted a set when I did the set at Perry's Beach, which was sick because
That was dope.
Cascade literally played a week after me. And I was like, oh,
that's so cool.
could have been the same
So
day.
close.
Like, yeah, but that's on YouTube. And then I'm actually about to post another set. So that one was beach set. And then now we got yacht set coming soon.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I love that.
yeah. So it's exciting. I'm like, shit, I get to do this.
That's
That's
amazing.
so dope, dude. And then is Colacane your personal Instagram too? Or what's
No,
your
my personal Instagram is AVKOKKA because
Okay.
the person who has the Coca Instagram won't give it to me. Damn it. I'm like in her DMs begging her, but maybe she'll see this and then she'll give it to me. No, once I have enough money, I'll buy it off her.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
I love it.
All right, sick, Avery. Well, thank you so much for being here. And,
Yeah.
best of luck with everything.
Thank you guys
Thank
for having
you.
me. This was awesome. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you so
Sick.
much. Woo!